Hi, hello, welcome. It's Pip here from queenpipcards.com. Thank you ever so much for tuning in today. Today we're going to be looking at the Wildly Happy stamp set that is now available in the new annual 2019 to 2020 catalogue. I'm going to do a Facebook Live and show you all my favourite stuff in the catalogue, but I'm very pleased to announce that the watercolour pencils that were on special last summer, and they were only available for a month then, have now come back in. Yay! So these are the watercolour pencils which have the assortment 2. So I already have my little case here that I use, and this has got my assortment 1 in it. So this has got my original watercolour pencils in, along with a blender pen and an aqua pen. An aqua marker, because they're the 2 things that I use for watercolouring. So this is my original watercolour pencils, and these are my new. I don't know where I'm going to put them now. I might have to put them, I might have to get one of the larger cases and have them in there, because I do like keeping them together so that I can just reach for my watercolour pencils at the same time. So we're going to be using some of the new and some of the old, because they are gorgeous, and why wouldn't you? And we're going to be concentrating on the fox image, and what I want to do today is I'm going to make 2 cards. So you'll have seen that on the little preview shot, that we're going to be making 2 cards, one for a boy, one for a girl, with the fox stamp here from Wildly Happy. So let's crack on. So first of all, I decided I wanted to make the boys card from Balmy Blue, and the girls card I'm going to use Blushing Bride. Balmy Blue I'm putting on Whisper White, and the Blushing Bride I'm putting on Very Vanilla. And I know it's probably very stereotypical of me, and I should have made them possibly in mint macaron or yellow, but I like pink and blue, so I'm going to use pink and blue. We're going to need some silver foil and some Whisper White cardstock. Obviously we're going to use our Stays On ink, because we are using our watercolour pencils, and so those 2 need to go together. So I'm going to just clear this away. We'll have do a bit of stamping first off, and then I will show you the watercolouring. Okay, so for this I do need to have my grid paper, so I'm sorry if this makes your eyes go a little bit funny. But what we're going to do is I want to have the background covered in some of the sentiments, just so that it's kind of cute wording going on behind the actual image of the fox. So let's see, what have I got here? We've got Wildly Happy. There we go. Which is obviously what the stamp set's called. They're all a bit sticky because they're these new cling ones. For you, sweetest baby. So tiny, so small, so loved by all. That's cute. And little one. So I think I'm going to get rid of the For You, because we don't really need that one. And then I'm going to get my largest block, and I'm just going to randomly place these on like this. Put that one there and that one in there. Turn it over, make sure they're all, the writing's all in the same position. This one's just a little crooked, so just move that one down, and then I'm just going to stamp those all in Blushing Bride all over the back of mine. This is a really quick way of doing a quick background technique. So, or not even a technique, just getting a quick background done. There we go. So it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be gaps. We don't worry about that. There we go. Don't mind if there's gaps here, because that's where the fox is going to sit. And pop that there. There we go. So it's just a bit random wording on the background, and then I'll do the same in the blue. So clean your stamps off, and then we're going to come back in with the blue. Now these pieces of cardstock are cut to the slightly smaller size of 13.9 by 9.5, so they're going to give a large border around them. Make sure it's up the right way. A large border around them in terms of when we come to actually do the putting it on the base. That's the word I'm looking for, putting it on the base. Okay, so we're just going to start here. I can't actually see when this is going down. I can't see because it's it's shining in the light. I hope it's not shining in the light too much for you guys too. I think we're okay. There we are. It's just the angle that I'm at. There we go. And see, the second one always comes up better than the first, but that's always the way it happens, isn't it? You just we know that, so that's fine. Put a bit of this there. There we go. So now we have the blue and the pink all done. Oh, there we go. So that's quite a nice background just with some words on it. So you don't actually have to do a sentiment then if you don't want to. So we'll take those away. Don't need that anymore, making your eyes go funny. Okay, so the next thing we're going to need is a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Now I've pre-cut this one, so you can go and grab an image that you've already got, but you might find, as I did, that this is exceptionally tight in terms of stamping, and I prefer normally to stamp and then die cut out, but I'm going to show you how I do this just in case you also sometimes want to be a bit frugal and just grab what you've got off the side. So, and you wouldn't want to throw that die cut away, would you, because it's lovely. So just go straight down. Good thing is it's a circle and the image is kind of a bit circular or ovalish in itself, so you can move him around so that he's straight. So that's good, or she's straight actually, because it's mum, isn't it? So there we go, that looks okay. The next one I am going to stamp and then die cut out so that you can see the difference in terms of how much easier it is to do that. Although that wasn't too hard. Depends on how confident you are with your stamping. But I do like the fact that with the cling you get a much better idea of where your ink is actually going to stamp. Now obviously that is a stays on, so that needs a stays on cleaner. But we've got our two foxes now. And I'm going to colour them both the same. So I will start doing that and get on with that. And if I find that it's going on too long with both of them, then I will whiz you along, as it were, so you're not here bored. Okay, so the colours that I'm going to be using for this, out of the original set, ooh, come on. Yeah, so the colours I want are going to be Pumpkin Pie. I might use a dab of Early Espresso, I'll see. A bit of Calypso Coral. We'll take the white, which is always handy. And then I don't really need any of those, so they can go back in the box. And then from the new colour set, I want the lovely Cajun Craze. There we go. And a little spot of crushed curry. Oh, I thought, do I need Daffodil Delight? No, I'm going to use crushed curry. So these are the colours that I'm using. Okay. And I always start with a light colour. So this is Calypso Coral. And I would just have next to me, she says, pulling out a next to me bit of scrap, okay, because I like to work the nibs, see, so they're not giving off that sharp edge. So just take the edge off. Yeah. Even if it takes off a bit of pencil, it's worth it. You want to get it so it's nice and soft. And then we're just going to start, and I always start in a circular. I might end up doing some strokes, but I like the circular motion, it gives me more control. And this fox is going to be orange all over. You can do stippled like this, you can do lines like this. It really does depend on how you prefer to colour. Personally, I just like colouring in circles. Don't know what that says about me, but I mean, obviously for the ears and stuff I'll go in straighter lines like this, but and maybe for the back. But if it's going in lines, it has to be very smooth, because lines will show up otherwise if it's not smooth, which is I think why I like the circular motion. It's gentle and it tends to blend more easily. Now obviously she's got a pale white stripe under here, okay, like so. Little baby, such a cute. And then this tip of the tail is always white, or at least it is with our European foxes, so that's what I'm basing this on, because I only know European foxes really. Seen some Arctic foxes, and you could indeed use this as an Arctic fox and just leave her white, that's also possible. But yes, I think we're going to go more circular because, as you say, we don't want anything showing, like those lines there are showing a little bit. So if you see something that's showing a little bit, just go back over it, and then that's the base colour that we've got. And you can see it's not very dark at this point, because I want to go back in with Cajun, which is dark, much darker. So now I'm going to go in at the edges to make this fox a little darker. Okay, and I do my blending afterwards, so for me it's about laying down the right colours at this point for how you want your fox to look. Make sure that the right colours are there and that you're getting the darker pieces where you want the darker pieces to be. And then what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll blend. And we'll blend, because this is on Whisper White cardstock, we'll blend using our blender pen. We won't use any water, because that would make the paper too wet. So we're going to come all the way down here, and this is going to be Cajun Craze down here. Okay, it does kind of hurt your hand a little bit with watercolouring, I find. The more you do, especially if you put too much pressure on. So I always, if I find my arms aching, I think, uh-oh, I'm putting too much pressure on. I need to calm down a little bit. Put a little bit less pressure. You know, the fox doesn't need to be killed. You're not rubbing it to death. There we go. A bit more dark under where his face is. I'm assuming it's a little boy. Could be a little girl. Who knows? There we go. All right. Yeah. So I'll speed this bit up now with the other one, because otherwise you'll be here all day. And then what I would do is I'd go in and I'd use a bit of the orange from the pumpkin pie, just a little bit, just in some wider circles, to just add a smidge of that colour throughout the fox and sort of bring that Calypso Coral and Cajun Craze together. Okay, like that. And yes, I've got lines, and yes, you can see, and it doesn't look particularly great. However, when you get your blender pen onto it, this is when the magic happens. Make sure it's clean. So here I start to blend, and you can see that it's immediately making the colours more vibrant, and it's actually moving the ink around a little bit in the cardstock. And so this sort of smooths out those lines. You have to move pretty quick, because you know it is actually just putting some glycerin onto your paper to make the colours move. So you have to be quite quick, because if you're a bit slow, it can cause the paper to then pill if you keep going back over and over and over again. But if you're quick enough and just work as you have been with your pencils, there you go. And then it just brightens it all up again, smooths it all out. You get rid of all your pencil marking bits, and then you have two quite content sleeping foxes. Okay, so I'm going to do the other one, and I'll come back in when I've got them both done and cut out. Okay, so I have used the stitched shapes framelits to cut out the fox, and you can see how close that edge looks, but when you pop it out, because of the stitching, you do actually get the whole fox showing. So this is the second largest stitch shape, and then I've used the coordinating plain circle to cut out the silver. Alright, so that's from the normal layering circle dies. Okay, so now you have a fox that will sit on top of that. There we go. So we're pretty much done with all the stamping and the watercolouring now. You can see they're slightly different. I did this one a bit darker, this one's a bit lighter, but that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You know, we're just going to you know, decide which one we want it to go on, and they're not going to be necessarily given together, so nobody's going to know that one was slightly different. And that's the joy really of watercolouring, is the fact that everything will turn out slightly differently, but that's okay. Right, so I've got 2 lots of ribbon here. This is the beautiful new, what's this called? Scalloped lace trim. This is from the Bird Ballad suite that's in the new catalogue. Okay, and that is going to go on the vanilla one for the girl. And then thankfully the flax ribbon has carried forward because I love this ribbon. So we're going to use that one for the boy. And then it's just a question of putting them together really. So let's do the very vanilla one first. So I do like making baby cards. There seems to be we seem to be having a spurt of babies recently, which is great. So there's a little boy who was born to a friend of mine, and then we've got my Teamy Jane had a little baby girl, so I've already sent her card though, so this is going to be held for the next one because there's people who are pregnant all around me, so that's good. Right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to attach the ribbon. So to do that, we're going to get ourselves a decent enough piece with an edge to it, especially for the flax because it's quite a strong ribbon. You're going to turn this over, work out roughly where you want it. So you're going to hide some of that wording either way. But if you have it too far down, when the circle sits on it, it's going to look odd. So it does need to come up, probably right up, straight across that wording there. But you'll know that it's there behind, so that's okay. And if you've got a bit of dodgy writing, put the ribbon there. That's my suggestion, because it's a great way of hiding a mistake. Not that we ever make mistakes, we just have design changes. Okay, so this is my snail, which, I think I need a new one, is coming through here like this. We're going to pop that down on the back there. Pop that down on the back there where it looks like it's the right, and then, yeah, just double check that it's the right height on both sides. I haven't got my paper out with me. Then we're going to glue this down to the main card. Okay, once the ribbon's on, and this allows you to put glue on the actual ribbon, which I always recommend you do, because wet glue holds it so much better than any kind of tape, no matter what. Okay, so find your longest side, your leading edge side, and then, as I say, remember this has a slightly wider gap than normal, so that we can, oh no, I've put it on the wrong one. Quick, take it off, put it on the right one. That was lucky. That was a lucky escape, wasn't it? I just thought, well, that looks a bit creamy against that white. There we go. So that's fine. Put that down there. Phew, lucky escape. See, another good reason for using wet glue, because you've got a chance to move it. There we go, like that. Then we're going to put our silver circle there, so that will go up on dimensionals because it's a little bit rocky otherwise. And then we're going to pop our little fox on top, and I would pop the fox flat to the silver and raise the silver because I just think that's easiest. You don't want it too thick, especially if you're sending it through the post. You want it nice and flat so you're not into packet size postage. Oops, make sure that's lined up. There we are. And then I'm just going to pop some, I'm going to use minis because they're slightly, again, they're just slightly thinner. And what you need to do is you need to work out where your fox is going to go. So we're going to need a couple down the bottom here. We don't want to put dimensionals so that they actually sit on the ribbon. We want the fox to sit above the ribbon and then sort of along here, because flax is quite a wide ribbon. So we'll do this. There we go. Oh no, that was just the top. That's the bottom. There we go. And yes, I know I'm using a lot of minis, but I think I've run out of big ones. So there you go. I might have another packet somewhere. I'm going to have to go and hunt for them though. Sadly, all of our dimensional gluey things are stuck in customs because there's been a new regulation thing come in. Caught everyone unawares. It's not just our company apparently. And yeah, so loads of things are stuck in customs, which is a real pain and shame. But we can't do much about customs, unfortunately, as we all know. So there we go. So that's our blue one. Now, if you wanted to, you could add another sentiment. You could pick one of these wordings and pop another sentiment on, you know, under here or across the ribbon. Might add a little bit of bling. If I think about some bling while I put the pink one together. Okay, so this is, as I say, this is the new beautiful scallop lace. Ooh, that's really pretty, isn't it? Now this is slightly thinner to work with, and you can see it has a tendency to bend, so you're going to have to just work with that. And then there we go. Yeah, that looks pretty there. Alright, so we roughly know where we're going. Again, leave yourself quite a generous trim, extra bit at the end. There we go. So we know it's going to go there. I like to place this one because it does have this tendency to bend a little bit. We're going to have to be a little bit more careful when we stick this down, that we're not sticking it at an angle. And so to do that, I would come back to the front and I would just make sure that that looked right. Oops, no, a bit low. Come on, a bit higher. Needs to go a little bit higher. There we go. How's that looking? Too high? No. Perfect. That's pretty, isn't it? Really pretty. So that then we can pop on our vanilla card base. At least we know it's the right one this time because it's the only one that we've got. So that's good. There we go. Pop that one down. And again, leave that border so it shows through. It just ties off that vanilla very nicely. And yes, I could have done the fox on vanilla cardstock, actually, thinking about it, but he doesn't look too bad. She doesn't look too bad, I don't think, in Whisper White on top of that, because she's coloured. I think if I did it again, I would do it in vanilla and colour on vanilla, but I didn't think. And I put it on Whisper White, which is just kind of my go-to. But there we go. Alright. Now she could actually lay flat on that because this trim is quite thin. But again, I'm going to pop her up. So again, just down here. So don't forget you need to have StazOn ink when you're using anything that's watercoloured. Okay, because our inks are watercolour inks, then if you add water to them, funnily enough, they run. Memento's not too bad if you're very careful to make sure it's absolutely dry before you do anything. But StazOn is much better. It gives a nice crisp black that you can then watercolour. And when you use it on watercolour cardstock, it is just the best. So invest in some StazOn if you want to do watercolour pencil or ink watercolouring. And then invest on a Memento if you want to do blends or any alcohol colouring, because obviously you need the opposite. So you need a nice water-based ink to do blends. Okay, so those are our two baby cards. Aren't they cute? Cute, cute, cute foxes. And I think anybody would be happy to receive one of those in the post if they had a little baby boy or girl. You could put on here boy or girl if you wanted to, or as I say, you could just leave it like this. I like the ribbon showing. I might put a few pearls on this one, and I might put a few diamond rhinestones on this one. I don't know. Well, we can try and we can see. There we go. Well, this one's nearly empty. Yes, I definitely need some more rhinestones. There we go. Take the pick out. Oh, this take your pick tool is great. Great, great, great for picking off these lovely little... Yeah, I think we could just do just 3 along here. Would just tie that in with the ribbon nicely. Yeah, that looks good. And then we can do the same with the pearls. I have more pearls. Because I think I don't use vanilla as often. So I'm obviously going to have to use a bit more vanilla in the coming months, days. So a little bit of bling just to finish that off, and now you are ready to send. So I hope you've enjoyed today's watercolouring lesson. Not really a lesson, but you know what I mean. Tips and tricks on how to get a nice even colour. This one's slightly darker, as I said, than this one. Thanks ever so much for watching. All the details on how to purchase from the new catalogue are in the comments below, in the description below. And you have, if you're watching on my blog, you have a full list of all the products available. And if you have any questions with regards to watercolouring or blending or pens or whatever you want to talk to me about, ask in the comments and I will reply. So, and if it's too complicated to talk about, I will do a video. Okay, so thanks ever so much for watching again. Ta-ta for now, and I'll see you next week. Cheers, bye.